Hey, how are you? Bright Charles here, and let me tell you, I've had my share of dirty jobs. I've crawled through mines, climbed up oil rigs, and even mucked out a few chicken coops in my day. And you know what I learned? Safety ain't just a good idea, it's the law. And in the world of HSE, it's the difference between going home every night and, well, let's just say you don't want to be on the wrong side of that equation. So you're looking to land yourself a good job as an HSE officer. That's great. It's important work. I tell you, you're going to be the one making sure everyone goes home safe and sound. But before you can strap on that hard hat and start handing out safety glasses, you've got to get through that interview. That's where we come in. We've got all the top questions and answers to help you ace that interview and land your dream job. So buckle up, grab yourself a pen and paper, and let's get to work. First things first, you've got to know your enemy. And in the world of HSE, the enemy is hazards. We're talking about anything that can cause harm, from a slippery floor to a giant vat of molten steel. You need to be able to identify all the different types of hazards in a workplace. Physical hazards like noise and vibration. Chemical hazards like solvents and fumes. Biological hazards like bacteria and viruses. Ergonomic hazards like awkward postures and repetitive motions. And psychosocial hazards like stress and violence. Know them, understand them, and be ready to talk about them. Now here's where things get a little tricky. A lot of folks use the words hazard and risk interchangeably, but they ain't the same thing, not by a long shot. A hazard is anything that causes harm, like that vat of molten steel we talked about. The risk is that someone's actually going to get hurt by it. Think of it like this. Walking barefoot across a field of broken glass is a hazard. The risk of getting cut depends on how fast you're walking, whether you can see where you're going, and a whole bunch of other factors. See the difference? Be prepared to explain it. So, you've identified the hazards and figured out the risks. Now what? That's where risk assessment comes in. It's like a roadmap to keeping people safe. First, you identify the hazards. Then you figure out who's at risk and how. Next, you evaluate the risks and figure out what kind of controls you need to put in place. Don't forget to document everything. Write it all down and make sure it's clear and easy to understand. And here's the kicker: risk assessment ain't a one and done deal. You've got to review it regularly and update it as needed. Chapter 4. Fire in the hole. Know your extinguishers. Fire. It's one of the most dangerous hazards out there, and you've got to know how to fight it. That means knowing your fire extinguishers like the back of your hand. Class A is for ordinary combustibles like wood and paper. Class B is for flammable liquids like gasoline and oil. Class C is for electrical fires. Class D is for flammable metals. And Class K is for cooking oils and fats. Remember, using the wrong type of extinguisher can actually make things worse. So know your ABCs and DKs of fire safety, and you'll be ready to handle any blaze. Chapter 5. Permit to work, your permission slip for danger. Some jobs are just inherently dangerous. That's where the permit to work, or PTW, system comes in. It's like a permission slip for doing dangerous stuff. Before anyone can start working on a high-risk task, they got to get a PTW. This ensures that all the risks have been assessed, the right safety measures are in place, and only qualified people are doing the work. It sounds like a pain, but trust me, it's a whole lot better than the alternative. Lockout, tagout, don't get caught in the machine. Imagine this, you're working on a piece of machinery and suddenly it springs to life. Not a good situation, right? That's where lockout, tagout comes in. It's a safety procedure that makes sure machinery is properly shut off and can't be accidentally restarted while someone's working on it. Think of it like putting a lock on a door. You wouldn't want someone to accidentally open the door while you're in the bathroom, would you? Same goes for machinery. Lockout, tagout is your best friend when it comes to preventing accidents. HAZOP, or Hazard and Operability Study, is a mouthful, but it's a lifesaver. It's a systematic way to identify potential hazards in a process or system before they cause an accident. You get a team together, go through every step of the process and ask, what could go wrong? It sounds simple, but it's incredibly effective. It's all about thinking ahead, anticipating problems, and finding solutions before someone gets hurt. Remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. There are two ways to approach safety, reactively and proactively. Reactive safety is like fighting fires. You wait for something bad to happen, then you react. Proactive safety on the other hand, is all about preventing those fires from starting in the first place. It's about identifying hazards and risks before they cause an accident and taking steps to eliminate or control them. It's like the old saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The hierarchy of controls is like a toolbox for safety professionals. It ranks different control measures from most effective to least effective. At the top, you've got elimination, getting rid of the hazard altogether. Then there's substitution, replacing a hazardous substance or process with a safer one. Next comes engineering controls like machine guards and ventilation systems. Then there are administrative controls like work permits and training programs. And at the bottom of the hierarchy is personal protective equipment like hard hats and safety glasses. Remember, PPE should always be your last line of defense, not your only line of defense. Confined spaces are like the Bermuda Triangle of workplaces. They're full of potential hazards. Think tanks, silos, manholes, you name it. Before anyone can enter a confined space, you've got to make sure it's safe. That means obtaining a confined space permit, conducting gas testing, ensuring proper ventilation, assigning a trained standby person, providing appropriate PPE and communication devices, and having an emergency rescue plan in place. Remember, when it comes to confined spaces, safety is paramount. Workplace accidents don't just happen. There's always a reason, a root cause that needs to be identified and addressed. Human error is a big one. We all make mistakes, but some mistakes can have serious consequences. Then there are unsafe conditions like faulty equipment or poor lighting. Lack of safety culture is another major contributor. If safety isn't a top priority, accidents are more likely to happen. And finally, there's poor risk assessment. If you don't identify and control the hazards, you're just asking for trouble. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That's the motto of any good HSE professional. You need to have a plan in place for every possible emergency, from a fire to a chemical spill to a natural disaster. That's where the Emergency Response Plan, or ERP, comes in. It outlines the steps that need to be taken in case of an emergency, including evacuation procedures, roles and responsibilities, emergency contact numbers, assembly points and medical aid. ISO 45001 is the gold standard when it comes to occupational health and safety management systems. It's a globally recognized standard that provides a framework for identifying, controlling, and reducing workplace risks. It's all about creating a safe and healthy work environment for everyone. One of the key principles of ISO 45001 is worker participation. It recognizes that everyone has a role to play in safety, and it encourages workers to actively participate in identifying and controlling hazards. These days, it's not enough to just keep workers safe. You also got to protect the environment. That means complying with all applicable environmental regulations, which can be a real headache. But don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Start by conducting environmental impact assessments to identify potential impacts of your operations. Then implement waste management and pollution control measures to minimize your environmental footprint. A safety management system, or SMS, is the glue that holds all your safety efforts together. It's a structured and systematic approach to managing safety that encompasses all aspects of your operations. A good SMS will have a clear safety policy, a robust risk assessment process, comprehensive safety training programs, an effective incident reporting and investigation system, a well-defined emergency preparedness plan, and a commitment to continuous improvement. So there you have it, the top questions and answers to help you ace your HSE interview. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more you know about safety, the better prepared you'll be to handle whatever challenges come your way. Now go out there and knock 'em dead. Oh, and one more thing. If you're looking for even more interview tips or want to explore specific industries like oil and gas, construction or manufacturing, just let us know in the comments below. We've got your back. Good luck out there and stay safe.